Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Set the Pipe. I'm Sully. CK's there, and there's Bear. Today, we have Travis Turner, the OCC head coach for the last 18 years. Travis, welcome to Set the Pipe.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
Orange Coast College, baby.
Orange Coast College. That's right. Let me give you guys, as we do on every podcast, if we give you the background and if you're not impressed, then it's going to be hard to impress you in life, I think. So again, 18 years at OCC. Travis and his crew has been a 10-time conference champion, 12-time state tournament, and they have been 3-time state champion as he's been the head coach. All-time winningest coach with over 260 wins with an over 800% winning percentage. That's pretty freaking amazing.
Got a lot of work to do, Bear.
Yeah.
A lot of catching up.
As a player, he was at OCC as well, so he came back and he was a back-to-back state titles there. And then he went to Berkeley, where he's a 2-time collegiate club champion, and then today, he coaches at the famous Balboa Bay Club with a couple of national championships underneath his belt. No big deal. He dabbled a little bit in the collegiate realm, but we are very, very happy to have a successful coach like you, Travis, on the podcast. It's going to be different from what we do with Theo and Alan. You're at a junior college. You do have your challenges there, and we can't wait to get this podcast going.
Cool. I don't want to correct you too, but our website hasn't been updated in a while, so we actually won the last 2 as well, Sully. So we've won 5.
So I'm an idiot. So
No,
we'll go back to this.
Yeah.
So 5-time state champion. Damn. So welcome to Set the Pipe. Corrected 5-time state champion head coach Travis Turner.
Welcome
to the podcast,
welcome,
brother.
Travis.
Thanks so much, Travis, for coming on to this.
And I am
Awesome.
not going to repeat myself. So because it's pretty impressive, Travis, what
Nice
you've been able to do
accolades.
over there.
Hey, Travis, we've known each other for a long time. I think we even played against each other in '89, maybe.
Yep.
At Golden West and Orange Coast, and you won state that year. How did you get into volleyball? What attracted you to volleyball? And tell us a little bit about your story about, did you play any other sports? Was it just volleyball? What attracted you to volleyball?
So my dad and his sister played a lot, and he was going to open gyms. And at that time, I was like a sophomore and didn't want to do anything he did. And he was really into baseball too. And so I just was like, I'm gonna play volleyball just to irritate him, even though he played a little bit. But he really wanted me to play baseball, and I was just like, if that's what he wants me to do, I'm gonna do the opposite. And I just went from there, and then just started playing. Back then, it was, you guys remember, it was just open gyms. There wasn't a ton of
Playing deep court. That's it.
Exactly. I heard you guys talking about grass tournaments too. Mike Puritz at UCI, they used to put on grass tournaments like John did at Northridge. So just started there. But yeah, it was more to spite my dad. And
Interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. What a great, well, not a great way to get into it, to do that, but to just drive you in a certain way. Everyone has different directions growing up, and, you found the love for the sport. And, we're going to talk about your coaching career and playing and whatnot, but, you took it from going to play it because your dad didn't want you to, you just said 5 state champions, and you've been coaching at that wonderful, junior college for over, 18 years. And, kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been obviously it's been a good ride, and I don't know, this sport changed my life, and I've had a few people along the way that were part of that. And like a lot of you guys, I've heard you talk about on the podcast, this sport's just done so much for me, and I just feel super fortunate.
Thinking about what you just said and what we started with this. So when we started this podcast, it's about telling stories and trying to build a culture or build the knowledge and understanding out in the world of what volleyball does for people. And hearing you say that, we were back playing in those late 80s and early 90s and looking at all those teams. And I'd love to hear just, your perspective. You got into coaching. You've been coaching one of the most, if not the most successful club in the United States, year in and year out. In 1988, my first time ever playing Junior Olympics, Dwayne Cameron and Balboa Bay won the gold medal against Adam Keefe in Laguna Beach. So they were winning it back in 88. You're still winning it now. I'd love to hear how you got into that and then, moved into junior college.
Yeah, so I obviously played it at Orange Coast, and had the good fortune of just crossing paths with Bob Wetzel. I was
Good
a
guy.
racquetball player too. Like racquetball was my thing, and like racquetball and volleyball, and then was pretty good at racquetball, so I was going to focus on that. And then Wetzel was actually my racquetball coach,
Oh,
and then asked me to I don't know if they needed someone to play or something. So I ended up playing a little bit, more serious and just doing the stuff with open gyms with him. And then from there it kind of took off. And then Charlie Brand obviously had a huge role in the whole Balboa thing. I started coaching there when I was a freshman at Orange Coast in '88. And
Were you a coach on that team that won the gold in Fort Collins?
I had the mighty 14 white team
Okay.
that year. That was my first year though with the club. And yeah, Charlie had a big role in everything, especially at Balboa. And I mean, anyone in Orange County volleyball, Charlie probably had, some kind of role in their path forward. But just that's where I started at Balboa, and then was playing at Orange Coast at the same time. And I've been, it's cool. And I think that a lot of us are like this. I know you guys are super loyal to the schools you were at, but for me to still be at Orange Coast, that many years later and still be at Balboa, like it's just unique about our sport. I think there's a lot of us, like Alan was the same way, played at Long Beach and now he's coaching there. Theo played it at Northridge and now he's coaching there. There's a lot of us that have kind of just gone back to our roots, and I feel like I was lucky enough to do that as well.
Well, I think a big part of that is, and again, it continues with you. You've just, proven it to our fans and people listening. By the way, hit subscribe. If you haven't hit subscribe, and you guys know, always set the pipe, especially if I'm in the back row. But,
just tip it his way. And
I always, told my kids success breeds success, and, things like that. You put yourself around good people, you start to be a good person. You were fortunate enough to play for a great coach at OCC and obviously be a part of Balboa Bay. They've always been great, but what makes it awesome hearing you talk is you've continued to take what you learned and made you who you were, and you're now doing the same thing and paying it forward and keeping those both programs from OCC to Balboa Bay at the top. They're always at the top, and everyone wants to come for the teams at the top, and it's not easy to stay there, and you have. So, again, congrats to you, and that's great that you're still putting in that time and the love for what you got from it. You're giving back. So good job.
Totally. Funny story about Set the Pipe. So when I was playing here in '89, Brian Lewis was on the team.
Oh,
I was steady and I was young. I mean, Brian was 21 at the time, and I was 18 going on 12. And we were in the finals of the Long Beach tournament. He grabs me and says, "Set me," and he's back row. And like, we didn't set back row back then.
Yeah, no one did that.
I mean, back then it was like really rare. So I didn't know what to do. So he just looked at me and said, "Set the pipe." And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm setting the ball to him in the back row.
Louis.
I'm sure he put it away.
Yeah.
That was a funny coincidence.
Yeah, that guy's an animal. Hey, Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot. So you've been there for a while.
Uh-huh.
If you had to put a starting six together from your teams only, who would you put out there?
Oh my gosh, you are putting me on the spot.
Yep.
You know what's funny? Like, obviously, I've had some really good players here, and guys that are, Darius McRaven right now would definitely be on that team.
Okay.
Both the middles are pretty easy. It'd probably be Darius, and then Nick Amato also.
Oh yeah.
Was here at Orange Coast. Jordan Hoppy was just a winner. I don't know if you guys know Jordan, but he played at Concordia. He's doing really well in the AVP now. He was just a winner. Like those guys too, and Amato was that way too. Like they were good at volleyball, but Coley was like this. We talk about Coley was a guy that understood winning.
Yep.
So those guys probably are on that list. Josh Friedman's at USC right now setting. He would probably be in that group. He was a great leader, probably one of the best captains I've had. And then, it's tough. I mean, there's been so many teams here. I've probably forgotten more kids than those rosters I can remember, but there's been some really good players here, and there's some good kids playing right now. Like one thing we've done here that I'm kind of proud of is we've taken a lot of guys and let them gray shirt or red shirt here and not play for us at all. Like play on a roster, so they'll practice with us for a year.
Right.
And they go. And like there's two guys starting at Santa Barbara right now, Jess Bianchi and Joe Wallace. And Joe's dad had a huge impact on my life. Maybe bigger than anyone's besides Charlie was John Wallace, who you guys know. No one tell him that because we all know John. We put his head in this room. So Joe
played on this team also, Paul Mitchell.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, John was a really good player and someone that just was super influential in me going to Berkeley and just in my life. But John's son Joe played for me here, and then is playing at Santa Barbara. So Yeah, it's tough. I've coached a lot of good kids and kids that just were winners, and yeah, like to fight, maybe weren't translate to the next level as well, but guys that just like to grind and JC guys that were just more concerned with winning than transferring. So yeah, there's been some good players here.
Yeah, interesting. So with the NCAA kind of shifting gears on who's eligible and who's not, and with the JC potentially not counting, I mean, I know it's an isolated incident in football right now, but do you see that coming to fruition? I mean, because if so, you guys are, if you think you're hot now to go to college, I mean, JC is going to be the place to go.
Yeah, it is. And there's some good and bad to it, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going that way. And what I heard recently from someone at a school whose AD is on the committee is that they're going to go with 6 years eligibility, and you can play 4 Division I. So
6 years for everybody.
6 years for everybody is what I've heard. I mean,
but only for the D1 level.
So you can go to D2, D3, and NAIA.
Oh, got it. So you can only play your 4 years at D1, but you could play 6 years of college sports if you play D2. Okay.
So yeah, it's different. I mean, they're just trying to navigate things right now, and the NCAA is not saying no to much of anything because they know where they're at.
They can't.
Yeah, they're being attacked. They're losing everywhere.
Yep. So I think they're going to probably do what people want, and that football lawsuit. I mean, I do think it helps, but your clock still, and it's all about the clock here, right? So your clock starts when you take 12. So and then how many kids can afford to go to 6 year schools for 6 years? Then how many kids want to get their masters? I think one thing that came out of COVID was a lot of people got their masters that wouldn't normally got it. I mean, Coley, maybe your son's one of them, or maybe
my daughter.
I'm glad you asked. My son actually just finished his last. Congrats, Jake. I'm proud of you. He just finished his last paper today, and he finished with his master's degree.
Yeah, well done. Well done, Jake. Good job.
Obviously, thanks. And that's, COVID had a part of that. He had that extra year that they gave him back. So it was 5 years, and he got to play 5, which is amazing. But he was able to, get that. And it took him another, half a year to finish it after that 5th year. But yeah, it's amazing. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm really curious about this, like Sully is. We talk about it a lot, Travis, and recruiting. We've had some D1 coaches on, and I've been going through it on the basketball side. Do you, like you said, 6 years, like volleyball, there might not be that kind of money, but if I'm a basketball player and I can play for 6 years and you can get NIL, but you can't only play 4 years of Division I, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you go to a JC or a D2 and make some dough and then play? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but more importantly, on the volleyball side, what do you tell your kids now? How is it? We don't need to talk about the difference from 10 years ago to today, but you're in the weeds coaching high school hopefuls that all they want to do is get to be the next Nikolov and playing the pyramid against UCLA in front of 9,000 people. That's what they want to do. So you're trying to get those kids there, and then you're also seeing you're a junior college coach, so you're in the middle of it where you get some great kids that probably could, whatever the reasons are. And then you're trying to send kids on, and you're trying to navigate this new process. I mean, it's probably a lot of questions, but would love to hear your whole philosophy or your thoughts on it.
And you have the spin, Travis, and you have the spin of Balboa Bay. Yeah. Right. So you've got the high school kids, you've got, high school kids, and then you got the JC that could be the hot ticket. Yeah. I'd love to hear your perspective on all that.
So a few things first, the JC thing's interesting because I've had a pretty consistent plan here of how I do things, and that's going to change. And it was what Randy Totorp, who did a great job at Long Beach City, just had a machine going there, and we kind of modeled what he did. And that was freshmen wouldn't play for us at Orange Coast. And it's pretty much happened since I've been here. We try to redshirt all the freshmen so they have a year to get stronger and get better. And so we could have 40 to 50 guys on a roster. Like this year, I have over 40, and then 20 redshirt, and then 20 rest roster. So that's going to change. Like, how can I talk a kid into redshirting now? What's the point of redshirting if you get 6 years?
Right.
So just from an Orange Coast standpoint, I don't know if I love this, but we'll figure it out. I mean, like anything else, we're gonna have to figure out how to navigate it and function in it. The issue right now, and this year is a huge bottleneck. There's just no one being recruited. We've never had seniors on our Balboa 18-1s not committed, and we have 4 right now. And then Orange Coast, I have 2 of the best kids I've ever had, Jacob Surratt and Noah Keelan, and they're getting the same conversation from every college coach. It's like, hey, I like you. Any other year I'd take you, but we're gonna wait till the portal opens, and then we'll get back to you in April. So it's just this year is bad because of the bottleneck, right? Like I know Alan talks about it, but there's just a lot of kids that are going to be put in the portal So if I'm even Concordia or anyone else, why would I take a chance on a JC kid, even if he's really good, when someone better might be in the portal? So that's a portal issue that's changing things. But this year, with the roster numbers changing and the eligibility changing, I think that it is just different. It's just different, and there's fewer opportunities this year and next year than I've ever seen, and that's kind of a bummer. But
It's a huge bummer.
it is but where we're at. So, like, obviously, I'd love to complain about it a ton, but it's just where we're at. So we got to figure it out. And you guys talked about this with Theo. There's so many other opportunities, but Division III is unique because there's not a ton of schools in California, and
Right.
just
All back east for the most part.
The demographic I deal with wants to go to UC Santa Barbara, right? Like, everyone wants to go to UC Santa Barbara, or somewhere in the only D3 in California besides Cal Lu is Santa Cruz, I think, which is a great school, but how many guys can they handle? So the other options are great, but even some of the D2 schools or NAI are mostly in the Midwest, and no knock to the Midwest, all right? Like, we've had some kids go there and do really well, but a lot of the kids want to stay in California, so they have to switch, their thought process. And they're like, I had 3 kids 2 years ago go to Jamestown. Like, how cool is that to go to North Dakota? Like, there's 20 people in the entire state, and we'll hang out in a really cool state and do some outdoor stuff. So just getting kids to kind of look at those other options, it has to be the way to go. But it's tougher to do it out of high school, because you have kids, and Coley, and Tim and Sully, I don't know if you have kids, but you got 4 these kids have this idea of working their butt off in high school, and then I want to go to a good school, and then they get there and it's like, well, wait a minute, there's just not as many opportunities. So, and that's why JC is good. So once they go to a JC, they've there 2 years, and they're kind of been like, okay, there's other experiences besides UCLA and Long Beach, and just getting them to see that's a little bit tougher. But to Coley's first point, that the recruiting is changing, and I think that it's just going to be tricky to navigate it now and just figure out where there's opportunities. My concern is it'll affect kids playing the sport.
I agree with that. And the reality is that another conversation that goes along with that, I was talking to a friend of mine, one of our best friends. She played at Northridge. She was in our wedding. Her sons play volleyball. One's in college now. One's going to be in college. We're going to have them on when we talk to our family groups to talk about raising kids. But like, she was concerned about international players. So we had this conversation the other day, because you look at Long Beach, look at Northridge. It's not one player like it was maybe in the league, maybe 2 in the league. It's 3-4 per team. So you're already shooting down dreams in this country right now with what's happening for college men's volleyball in regards to scholarships and time and place to play. And now you bring over superstars that have been in a system that have been training differently than we have since they were youth. And so, not against it, all for it. Our country and our system has got to figure it out and change to not let the international players be better than us. But I'm saddened, again, there's a lot of great things about it, but I'm saddened for you as a coach. I'm saddened for Bear. I'm for Knipe and Theo, and to everyone thinks it's such a great thing with this NIL. And again, I'll always stand by it. Athletes deserve to be paid. Yeah. This is the NCAA's fault, but nonetheless, it's a bummer to watch a lot of things happen like this. And you're going to see, especially the sport I love and I played and I owe everything to, and you coach, and it's just changed dramatically. And like you said, if I talked to a college coach the other day, or 2 coaches in different programs, and they're not even going after a high school kid this year.
Well, hopefully
not even a high school kid.
Some of these other colleges will start up volleyball programs.
Yeah.
Other community colleges, more D1, more D2 schools. I mean, we touched on it with Kniper a little bit. Like, how about Michigan starting a program and schools like that? So maybe those doors open.
I just hope that happens. It's just hard for me to imagine, if you have football, like putting money into an Olympic sport, when you could, throw that $200,000 to maybe one of the better kids and get them. And I'm not negative about it, but I do think it's tough. And I don't know if you guys know about Ohio State, or if you talked about that. I don't know if we can talk about them specifically, but they're going to 16 roster number because they just want to cut it lower. And I know Nygaard's mentioned too, they might go lower as well and not go to 18. Wow. So now you're cutting opportunities more. And the whole foreign thing is interesting too, because we obviously want like the one thing about our country on every level, and especially academically, because that's what this is about, right?
Be the best.
Sure.
Yeah, is to let these foreigners in because it's going to make us stronger.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is affecting when you add that. Like Theo told me he has 8, and I know Hawaii has a bunch, and that's fine. Nothing against them. They're doing a great job. I mean, that's got to be a hassle recruiting wise, and I mean, who wouldn't want to play for Theo and some of those other coaches? But I think that the number of opportunities are going away, and then you add the roster limit, and then you add the money to it. It's going to be interesting to see where we land, and that's why guys like Alan are great to talk to. I mean, he's smarter than I'll ever be, and then the way he's thing is amazing. Alan he just blows my mind how impressive he was. It was cool to hear Theo talk about how he called him about that job. Theo said, "I know he does
really nice.
Everyone, but I imagine, I mean." Alan checks in all the time, and he's always willing to help out anyone that
Everyone, as he is, no doubt, no doubt.
He's unreal. He's next level. We're all
Well, maybe not UCLA. Sorry, John. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So I think the Florida thing's history, and then one other thing you touched on, Coley, and I just did a Zoom with a bunch of club directors, hosted a Zoom with Karch, he's amazing. You guys, you got to get him on if you haven't. But he just the way he sees things, obviously he's extremely bright. But he said that the foreigners thing's interesting because we always think, and I asked him specifically, are we just not training kids right? He said no. He said they're just training them earlier. Like our college system is better than theirs, obviously, because they don't have one. Right. So he said, if you're, 8 to 18, then yeah, they're training them better. But once they hit 18 and up, he thinks we're training them better, which I thought was interesting because I thought we're just not training kids right. We need to.
The biggest thing also is, and I'm pretty sure it's similar in volleyball because I listen to all my friends' kids that are playing. We play too much.
Yeah.
And that's the problem at the young ages. We play too many games. And so you need to train more. When you're 10 or 11 years old, you shouldn't be flying around the country playing volleyball. You should be learning how to be really good at everything and just practicing. You can still play matches in your hometown. You can still play on the weekends. But again, this is for every sport. And this is why I feel, again, this is Coley's opinion, and you said it, Travis, is why, and I'd love to hear Karch's opinion, but he's probably similar. They train at such a younger age. They have academies for their schools, so kids are going just for that. And the other thing they're doing is, like I said, they're not playing 5 to 6 matches in a weekend. And you lose at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And I want to come back to something you said, which will bring back to your players about being a winner is imagine being 12 years old and going to a match on Saturday. Your parents drive you to play volleyball at 8 o'clock and you lose and you get your ass kicked, but you're playing at 10, you're playing at 1, you're playing tomorrow at 9, and you're playing at 11. You can get your next match, your ass whooped. You guys know me. I might not have talked to anyone. I don't care what we did the next 4 matches. I might have not talked to someone for an entire week. But what happens is, oh, we have another one. They play, they win. Oh, we have another one. And then all of a sudden, because the way it is, you win the tournament and you get a T-shirt. Woo, we won the tournament. I'm 10. I'm so excited. I was one of those parents, but yay, we won. And you're like, what are we doing? The kids in Europe aren't doing that. Yeah. They're at home with their families, taking hikes, walking, enjoying the weekends, and they're training their ass off every day, learning the skills to get better and use those skills. Yeah, you need to play, but not like we do.
Have you guys seen
my opinion?
Have you seen the Norway system? Have you read anything about that?
No,
I'll send it to you afterward. It's amazing. It's what they did 25 years ago, I think, was they just gutted the entire youth system, and then they centralized it with the government, and then they train kids, and they have a bunch of specific, very specific rules. You can't keep score till they're 13. You kids go to every sport, and you don't coach anyone until he asks to be coached. He or she asks to be coached. And the proof is in the pudding. What they did at the last 2 Olympics, based on the number of people in that country, is unbelievable. They won the marathon last Olympics. They won the beach volleyball. This is Norway, Olympic winter sport country, winning. If you look at per capita, it wasn't even close to any other country per gold medal per capita. When we get done, I'll send you guys there's some really cool
please do.
It's amazing what they're doing there. And it's kind of what Coley's talking about. It's just more about training and getting kids to do something they like. And then they end up being good at it because they start out liking it, rather than the old Russian system or that other stuff. But
I always thought it was crazy that 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds are flying over to Hawaii to play softball tournament. What?
Now,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? The only thing I'll say is this, and I had lunch with a buddy, and is if you are doing it for the reasons, and Michelle and I did this, we'd say it every time, even when he was, both my kids didn't play, they played travel basketball, but they didn't travel until one tournament at the end of the year, but it was all local, but was, I'll pay for the journey. I don't mind spending the money to watch my kid on a Saturday between games, laugh with his friends and tell stories, because that's what we're still talking about. I'm fine paying for that. But most parents aren't paying for that. They're paying so their kids can get a scholarship in college when they're 10. They're 10 years old, and they're missing that whole thing. But it's crazy. I want to go back to something you said, Travis, and I think it's important, and it's a lost art, I think, a little bit in today's game because of some of the reasons I just mentioned. You play 5 or 6 games. You said a winner. You said, I got some guys that might not have been the best volleyball players ever, but they were winners, and so they're on the court, because you can't do it with that. So why do you think it's, I mean, not as prevalent as it was when we grew up to have that mentality of it's that or nothing, right? Like, instead of like, whatever. And you get those kind of kids. I mean, any comments or thoughts on that?
You know what's funny, Mark? I talked to Dunphy about this maybe 10 years ago, and he told me to read this Psychology Today article. I don't read much Psychology Today, unlike Marv, I'm sure, but it was called A Nation of Wimps, and it was.
Michelle and I've read it.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it just kind of puts it all into perspective. But there's some other stuff I think about a lot. It's just like video games. Like we didn't play video games. Like, you can just reset, right? If you're losing, you just reset and start over. And I think that the video game culture is part of it. And one thing you said is crucial. Just kids are playing so much, and we've done a really good job. I'm really proud of what we do with Balboa. Is that, like, we practice twice a week right now. We're the only club that doesn't go 3 days a week. We do a lot of stuff that is based on experience, not just the competing part. And I think that at the end of the day, and you said it, we all look back on sports like yeah, winning was fun, and that's a huge part of it for us. But look at the relationships we all have because of volleyball. And I think that that's what we're focused on. And we tell parents, if you're just here for volleyball, we are not the right club for you. But yeah, I think they're just playing too much. I think when you end up playing a match, and like you said, you lose, you have another match an hour, you can get over it and play again. I think there's no, like, that's what's great about football, not just the physicality of it. My nephew played football this year, and it's the greatest thing for those kids. There's just a different culture there that hasn't jumped on this like over positivity thing that's going on. Yep. I have a little bit of an issue with, but I'm old. It was so good for him though to play that sport, because you play one game a week. So you have a week if you lose to fester and get off and come back and try to win the next week. And I swear, I wish I could make every kid play at least 1 year of high school football, and things would probably be a little different. But.
I mean, you get 10 to 13 games in high school, maybe 14 if you're modern day or something, but like, and that's it. There's no spring tackle football. There's 7-on-7 and stuff, but like, that's the one thing. And again, I still think, I mean, it's my first love, but I still think it's probably the ultimate team sport for so many ways and so many different things. But, that's a great point. And, that's one thing I've tried to instill in my boys, and they're pretty good at it, is that nature of winning and losing. It's not everything. We all know that. Yeah. But like, when you're competing and you're trying to play in high school, and when you're trying to play on Balboa Bay, which is, like I said, arguably the best program year in and year out, you're at OCC that wins state titles. When you're trying to get to that point and you get on those teams, you didn't get there without an unbelievable journey of working hard and doing all those things. Again, sometimes it's natural, but a lot of it's you work hard. Like, when you get to those points, it's, are you really competitive like Delhi was, right? Like, we all know Delhi, like losing, all of those guys, that generation, like, it just was unacceptable. Yeah. And then when you lost, it was, I mean, you wanted to kill someone, and it wasn't for a minute or for 5. It was for a week. You could go on and win the championship, and we still talk a year later, 5 years later, of the loss, and still how it stings.
30 years later.
Yeah, I mean, and not just the title games. I mean, that's a bummer. Only one team wins up, but I'm talking about matches or games that mattered to us. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you said that and you pointed that out, because I think, message to parents, if you're listening, especially at the younger levels, teach that. I mean, it shouldn't be a skill, but it's become a skill. Teach toughness, teach how to win, teach to be competitive, teach to be a teammate. and then learn all the other skills. Learn how to pass, learn how to serve, learn how to shoot a three, learn that. But teach the other stuff at a young age, because that's what's lost, and that's what can separate you. Like you were saying, Travis. Now imagine if you had, those kids you mentioned might not have been the best volleyball players. What about if you are a really good athlete and you have that mentality? Oh no, now you're playing at UCLA or Stanford, right? And it's really that mentality that takes the folks over the top. So I'm glad that you have that. And I also think I'm going to applaud you for gray shirting or red shirting. I've talked to a lot of coaches as well, and that's been a lost art, and whether it happens at the 6 years or not, but I think it's something that more people should do. And most, if I'm a kid and it's the right decision for my next son, it's a no brainer. Get your master's, right? Like do things that you can take advantage of.
Hey, Travis, can we pivot a little bit back to you? You've been very successful as a coach and a director and everything at Balboa, and you touched on it a little earlier about loyalty, to Balboa and Orange Coast. But have you ever had any aspirations of coaching at a higher level, or have people approached you coaching at an NAIA or a D1 or anything like that, international? What's your story on that?
I coached at a few. I coached at UCI for a few years, and then went back to Cal and coached the club team there, which is great. But you know what? I've definitely, there's been interest over the years. I think people know now, in the last 15 years, is I'm just not going anywhere. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like, it sounds so corny, you guys, but this place literally changed my life. And my first year here, I got offered a really good job at a really good school, and I went and interviewed and got offered the job, and I'm like, I just can't do it. This is where I'm supposed to be. And it does sound completely corny, but like John Wallace and this place just really, I wasn't a total jerk, but I was not a great student, and I was on a different path. And I like just being here and the competitiveness here, Coley, with Wetzel, and we had 80 guys. You had to learn how to compete. I got off on that, to be honest with you. Like, it was just what I wanted to do. So yeah, it never was a thing for me. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here, and building relationships and helping kids. And it sounds so silly, but it's just true. I don't need to coach anywhere else. And also, I don't know if my strength is X's and O's in volleyball. I think people and doing what someone did for me is probably my strength more than volleyball. So I don't know if I'm even equipped to coach at the next level, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not going anywhere. So hopefully.
No, that's good insight. There's not, Travis, I don't think a lot of coaches can articulate what you just did. You know what I mean? You had an aha moment somewhere down the line, and it might have been that interview that goes, wait a minute, this isn't where I need to be. And we can even translate to athletes. We say this all the time on the pod, is you got to find a fit. You found your fit, man, and you're sticking with it. It's worked for you. Sounds like you're loved all over the place down there, right? That's pretty inspiring for others that are just bouncing around everywhere that may not realize that they need a fit, and they just are searching and searching. It just sounds like you found a home, and that's a great story, man.
Yeah, the other thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Travis.
Well, junior college is great. Tim can tell you, because you got kids that they want to go somewhere else. Most of them are here because they want to transfer. So you kind of got a captive audience. And then the one thing that's great here is it's just a lack of parents. Like, there's just no parent input. Like, you either do what you're told to do, or you sink. And it's like, it's pretty black and white. I think that there's some beauty to that. And there's no, like, even now with the money getting involved in NCAA, it's like kind of nice not to worry about that, and just kids are playing because they love to play. And I've always said that's the best thing about men's volleyball was the lack of scholarships, because you got a bunch of people doing something because they love it. There's something at the end of the tunnel, and that's just a cool sport to be a part of.
I want to say something that I know you said this is silly what you're doing and you're staying here. Let me tell you something. What you did is, it's not even just admirable. It's amazing, because what's wrong with being an amazing junior college coach for 30 years? I mean, Ken Stanley, Big Daddy at Pierce, right? He changed tons of people's lives, right? Like, what's wrong with being an assistant coach? I say this to coaches all the time. Like, that's a great job. You have a great job. You love what you do. You're influencing young men's lives. You're changing lives. Your life was changed. I wouldn't say it's silly. I think it's awesome. And I mean, geez, I think there's a lot of people that would probably want to change places with you, even, at the D1 level. Like, it's a grind and a stress up there. Not that it's not a grind and a stress where you're doing, but I think it's awesome. And I think it's great for the school, for the county, for the stability, what you do for boys and men's volleyball here in Orange County. It's great. And, if you were to leave and go coach that whatever, you got a job somewhere, there'd be a hole. I'm sure there'd be someone from your organization through the years to fill it, but you're doing good work here, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you stayed and are staying.
Yeah. Thanks, Coley.
Yeah. So Travis, we talked about recruiting a little bit, and so how involved are you in those lives at OCC to get them recruited, right, and get to the transfer, as well as Balboa? Are you separate? I mean, is that a separate gig for you? Do you just not do any kind of recruiting for those 18, 17s at Balboa, or are you like fully involved in both? Because I mean, that's a big job. So, or do you just stay away from both? How does it work?
No, I handle all the recruiting for both sides. Like, and Tim and I did some USA stuff together. It's just so fun, and just all the relationships with those coaches. And we're lucky that it's a really small group of us, right? Like a really, really cool small group of us. Like, I mean, you guys know every Division I coach in the country pretty much. Like, what other sport has that? So
you're right.
We just have those relationships, and I do handle all the recruiting. And it's changing though, right? Like we had a lot of kids, like Balboa kids especially, that fit that 18, 19 to 25 role for a lot of schools, because there are guys that they knew were well trained, because we just have really good coaches, I think, and kids that could come in and develop, and that's gone. So I think that but yeah, I do handle all the recruiting, and it's going to change, and we'll figure that out. But yeah, at Orange Coast too, it's just more just making sure people know that we have some kids that can play at the next level. Like I said, I have 2 kids now, and I blasted out a thing last night. We played Golden West, and I blasted out a thing just to make sure they watch those guys. But yeah, it's just relationships like anything else, and it's something that I enjoy doing. And I talk to coaches all the time, like Division III coaches too. I mean, Charlie Sullivan, if you guys get a chance to I would grab him in a heartbeat.
The Tinleys brought him up. So we got a guy on the West Coast. He was my roommate and tried out for Long Beach a couple years, didn't make it, but he's been like our East Coast correspondent. He's brought up Sullivan quite a bit, actually. So he's going to be key for us. And gotta be honest, Travis, I know this is a podcast, set the pipe, right? But we can reach out to David Tinley and, you know, to expand your base of I just need to stay here in California. And I do agree with you, by the way. I think it's been like that for years. Like, there's only volleyball in California. Like when I was in California, I didn't realize JCs on the women's side give scholarships outside of California. I'm like, what? People
Every sport.
Oh yeah, they get a full ride. I'm like, no, like you don't know what you're talking about. Well, because I was a California dude, right? I knew everything. Yeah. Nope. I mean, once that opened my eyes, I'm like, holy smokes. So I'm just saying, if you start opening your guys' eyes to Division III and all across the country, I mean, I just hope that mindset just grows with the parents, that it's okay to let them go away. Well, it's okay to go from the beach just for a couple of years.
I don't know if it's going to be okay. Some of them are going to be forced to. And that's the difference. Like the difference is the reality. Like you said, Sully, when we talked about this, you had Jaden on, you were real with her.
Yep.
I know you are real with your players, Travis. I know you, I've known you for a long time. To the reality is the reality. And like, if there's one scholarship left, 10 years ago, there was 4, now there's 1. And if you could go walk on at this school, now you can't. Like, so like, you can either go play or don't play, right? And so like that's what's going to end up happening, which again, as Bear said and what Alan said, and NCAA, please listen, expand Division I men's volleyball. Find the money. It's such a great sport. All the teams in the Big Ten, you should all have them. Minnesota, Michigan, they're just great sports. Look what Ohio State does. Look what Penn State does. We need more Division I men's volleyball programs. The game's too fun. It's too good. It's too great of a game for it not to continue to grow. It's growing immensely, except we're just not getting those more D1 teams like Alan had said.
Travis, do you see that? Do you see guys on both levels, JC, that's the next step is college, is to basically say, I'm going to play or I'm not going to play because I have to be in California? I mean, are they really making that decision to go, hey, you've got an opportunity in Ohio. That's who wants you. They're like, they're willing to walk away from the sport because of that?
I think Balboa kids more than JC kids, because JC kids are a little more enlightened, and it's all about experience. And that's what's hard to tell parents. Right. It's all about experience. No one, like anyone that played sports is like, you talk about your friends, the guys you hung out with all the time. You don't say, oh, I played Division III and like knock it. So it's just a silly, it's hard too to educate people on that, because if they don't know, they don't know. And so,
Right.
yeah, we have a lot of kids playing all across the country. We have, like I said, Springfield, we have a few kids there. We have 5 or 6 kids at NYU, but that's a, kind of a school that fits the demographic here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think kids are willing to do it, but a lot of kids playing at Balboa are probably not. They're going to go to Colorado or go to these other schools and play. And I played club volleyball. Club volleyball is great as well, but
It is.
those kids are going to look for, they're going to those schools. The SEC, I don't know if you guys know what's going on with like the Orange County kids. Coley might know, but they're all going to now is Utah, Colorado, and SEC schools. That's where everyone wants to go.
Yeah.
And there's no volleyball there. We have 2 kids going to Auburn and 1 kid going to Mississippi from Balboa. So it's just weird how it changes where they want to go. But volleyball wise, those kids are looking for California. But Orange Coast, like I said, we have those kids at Jamestown, and we have kids all over the place. We've had kids Iowa. There's a ton of teams in Des Moines, Iowa. We've had quite a few kids go there. So yeah, kids are willing to look at it. But I just, like I said before, I'm worried about it affecting the numbers of kids playing. And then
For sure.
you add that to the thing Coley's talking about of all the kids going around and playing tournaments every weekend. It's just gotten so monetized. And so if you look at the cost of it and there's nothing at the end of a tunnel, it is a little concerning. But to your point, Sully, getting people to see that there's some really cool options out there that aren't in California. And we're trying to do that.
And hopefully that we continue to grow it, right? Like hopefully, like Alan said, like there's some great things happening. Obviously on the women's side, it's a lot of things are happening on the women's pro level, and college is blowing up. Men's is doing a pretty good job as well. And hopefully we can just, find more schools, especially when the dust settles. I was going to say 5, but probably in 2 years, when the dust settles in 2 years, everyone's COVID year is finally gone. There's still 1 or 2 more use cases, which is amazing. I just talked to a friend that still has another year. I was like, what? And he's like, yep, because he redshirted the year of, and it's really unbelievable. So nonetheless, and in 2 years, the rules, will still be loose in a lot of ways around the money side of it, but I think it'll be a little bit more clear. And so hopefully there's growth within that, because there needs to be. The game's so fun, right? We all love it. We love playing it. We love watching it. You love coaching it. I just hope, I really do hope there's some sanity that comes into it real soon for everyone. Cause it's not just about the football and the basketball player. It's about a lot of these other athletes like us that played men's volleyball that no one really paid attention to, even though we packed the gym every night at Northridge when I was there, but it's beside the point. But most people didn't pay attention to
all the flyers that went out. Yeah.
Hey man, we passed them out. That's the only thing we could do back in the day, but we still got it done. But on the high school level, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Travis. In all the years you've coached and you've been around it, like you said, back in '88, your best team ever. And it didn't have to win, right? Yeah. That didn't have to win, because sometimes you don't if you're playing against, the best team. But who's your best team ever, you think?
Probably the 2000 Balboa team I had and also I was younger then, so it was kind of fresher winning. But Kevin Hansen, who was an Olympian, set that team, and then Brad Keenan was on that team.
Wow.
I had a really good kid named Grit Stampley who went to SC and ended up quitting volleyball. But I don't know. That was just a really meaningful group, and we lost 1 match all year to Pelzel's Saddleback team. So it was just one of those teams I remember that was just from day one was on it. All 12 of those guys went and played Division I volleyball and had a pretty big impact. Greg Garrett and Spencer Bemis. You guys all know the Bemis.
Of course. We're going to have Corin and Sarah on here.
Yeah,
talk about their daughter, Marley.
That's probably the best team I've coached, as far as just, you know how our memories are tricky, right? Like,
they're but you didn't hesitate, Travis. You didn't hesitate. You didn't be like, you know what? Nope. You were like 2000, end of story, period.
Yeah, for sure. And then 2 years ago at Orange Coast, we won, or 3 years ago, we won in 22, and Long Beach had just dominated all year. And they walk in the gym with shirts that basically all of them wearing shirts that said they had already won their 11th championship. And that night, and that was one of the best wins ever, because we were so undersized. They were loaded, and I'll never forget that match, because we had no business winning that match.
But you did.
Yeah, we did. It was awesome. I get goosebumps talking about it now.
So great. So great.
Day Nakamura, I get an email from a kid from Japan, and it never pans out. I get foreigner emails all the time, and they ended up not coming. But his email said, I'm already at Orange Coast, and there was a video attached. And it's the best kid I've ever coached in the gym. He went to UCLA, and then it didn't work out academically for him. He ended up playing some matches, but he was away from his country. It was just really tough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was on that team, and we played him at libero all year. and had lost to him twice or three times. And the finals, I moved him to outside and just took a huge chance. Like we weren't going to beat him anyway, so why not try to wrinkle
Mix it up.
And John Charette, who's a great guy, his game plan and it was just one of those matches and teams that I'll never forget. And Coley said it didn't have to win, but you know how it is, Coley. The teams that win are the ones that
the ones you remember.
It's a lot of the memories of it. I mean, you're not going to first round loss in the playoffs. You're not going to remember. If it's a championship game, maybe, right? But like, yeah, the wins really rack up, and you've been around this for so long. So and again, you're probably, like you said earlier when he asked you about your best players, like you're going to come get off the podcast and you're going to go like, oh my God, I can't believe I left off blah, 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 blah. You know, and what's been fun for us three, because we text a lot and, you know, get enjoyment of this, is the stories that have come out just talking with the three of us, talking with Mooney, just laughing about, I forgot that story, right? Like, my gosh. And so like but being around this sport and how we can get into mischief, the people that play this sport just a little bit, the stories you've heard, can you tell us one or two that are PG-13, not rated R, doesn't need to be G, like one or two travel stories with one of the teams? Could have been one of the USA teams you coached with, Bear, maybe when you played against Bear, anything, just a story that might be one of your most fun with volleyball.
Bear, you're turning red. What's
any story with Bear? I probably can't tell, but
we've already said that. There's a lot of Bear stories that were just.
There's a lot.
What'd you guys think of that? Yep, yeah. That's the story about Bear.
We know that one. I know that one too. We won't repeat that. But yeah, that's a loaded question, right? I mean, there's so many, but some of those USA stuff in the beginning were really cool. And like I said, Charlie Sullivan was there, Tim was there, Shane Davis at Loyola. It's all about relationships for me, and just some of those nights out were really fun. And then showing up at 8 a.m. coaching and Charlie Sullivan being like, "Are you guys sure you're ready to go?" And we were always ready to go. But which reminds me of my favorite quote ever. It's a Bob Wetzel quote: "If you're going to hoot with the Owls, you better be ready to soar with the Eagles." So yeah, cool. we hoot with the Owls a lot. But no, I just think just the people, like even just hearing you guys talk to people, you guys are so well connected, and I think that all of you guys are relationship guys, and I just remember the relationships, I think, more than the moments. So that was probably it. But and then some of the OCC teams I played on with Matt Lyles and Matt Lyles, Brad Friesen, who you guys know too, and Lance Lyons was a legend. They're just some characters, right? Crandall, you guys know Paul Crandall or Kurt, but
I remember Paul.
Those teams were we just had so much fun together, and we won. And we did a trip up north to play in a tournament there, which was just super memorable. And some of my teams at Cal, I don't know, I feel so lucky to have been doing this for this long and to meet the people I've met, and just, I don't know. It's been a really cool journey that isn't over, by the way. So I'm talking about like it's over, but just to keep doing
just beginning.
Yeah. Just developing more relationships with people and doing those things I did when we were younger. Like those trips were crazy. We'd go to some godforsaken town that was like 180 degrees. We were in Tucson. It was never below 110 for 8 days. And you're like happy to be there because you're hanging out with a bunch of, coaches talking volleyball and talking about life. And that's the other thing too, is just, and Theo was on those trips too, just getting to know those guys and about their families. And they're just some really, I don't know if every sport says this, but they're just some really solid people.
Yeah. Incredible people.
Yeah.
In this sport.
Yeah.
100%. Let me ask you a quick question. And I know the answer, but did you get a scholarship to play college volleyball?
No, I did not.
Okay. So the reason I asked you that is I knew the answer is, if you're listening to what he just said over the last minute and a half to 2 minutes, what was his best moments? What was his best time? It wasn't that he got a scholarship and played volleyball. It was the experience of it all. It was the journey of it all. And everyone puts such an onus on one thing, whether it's making a league champ, whatever it might be, instead of enjoying the journey. And I said it earlier, my son said it once, is, the journey is the destination. And like, hearing you talk about this, Travis, it just warms my heart, makes me happy that we're doing this, because, there's so many things that have come and gone in your life that you've been able to lean on volleyball, and all three of us, the exact same thing. And the stories and the fun and the laughter and the love and the tears and everything that goes in between it. It's great to hear, and it's great that you're still, you're pushing through, and both, Sully and I are sitting here, and we have day jobs. I mean, we're sitting here talking to 2 college coaches. Like this is 2 junior college coaches. You guys are helping raise other young men to move them to the next level, whether it's to school, whether it's to
life.
And Travis, one of those winners that you talked about, doesn't matter who, they may be in your shoes when you decide to retire and take over that program and pay it forward also. So what you're doing, Bear, you're doing the same thing. Is it's incredible to just be able to be on this pod and talk to so many awesome, unique people that have the same love for this sport that we do, and talk about the stories and the journey, which is what we're trying to just, kind of evangelize in. It's not just about hitting a pipe, but set it. But yeah, so awesome. Great answer. I appreciate you telling that. Like,
I am going to put you on a little bit of the spot though, Travis. You touched on being a player a little bit and some memorable times. Can you be exact? What's one of your best times as a player?
Look at that smirk. You see that side smile right there, boys?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm waiting for this one.
What it is. Well, we winning that first state title at Orange Coast. We beat Pierce at El Camino, and we were down 14-11 in the or 13-11, I think, in the 5th. And the story gets better. I'll tell it 2 years we were down 14-8 or something. But no, we were down a lot that match, and just I remember Dan Murray. I don't know if you guys know Dan.
I love Dan. Yep.
On the ball. He just comes in a timeout, and I'm 18, and those guys were a little bit older because all those guys were ineligible 1 year before, so they all had to come back.
I was in that group, by the way.
I know.
Ineligible group.
So,
not real proud about that.
Losing this match, I remember looking at him going like, I guess we're not losing this match. I don't know what he means, but yeah, that match, and same thing though. It's just the guy. Like every story comes back to the guy. So, but that match and that year, because I was just a little fat kid that didn't play a ton of volleyball, that earned a spot and got to play on that team with all those 87 guys that were like
gnarly.
To me, yeah, Lewis and in that group. So, yeah, that's probably it. And just some really good times at Orange Coast playing, and we won a lot of matches that next year when we had Lyles in that group. So I was so lucky. I got to play with Lyles and Brian Lewis. That's just
Matty Lou's coming on this. He doesn't know that yet, but he's coming here. Well, no, he is. I'm telling you why, because his son's coming down here to play in a basketball tournament in a few weeks. So he's going to stay with us. So when he stays with us, yes, Matt, if you're listening, I'm not going to call you and tell you this, but if you're listening, you're going to get on. If you're not listening, then you're going to be surprised that you're getting on.
We have the capability at Coley's house to put on more people for sure.
So Matty Lou Lyles will be on this thing without him knowing it in a few weeks. So.
Such a jerk, isn't he? He's just not a nice guy at all.
He's terrible.
Yeah, he's not.
I hate that's why I can't believe he's just barging into my house and staying here. I just cannot believe it. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite people, and we've said that before. I mean, there's not many better human beings than Matt Lyles.
I'd love to get Louie on here. So I don't know Brian, but the stories when I was at Long Beach the whole time, it was constant. And then see his AVP career and hear Deli talk about him and Pesty and and Rocky and those guys. He was a stud. So
do you talk to him much, Travis?
Louis or Lyles?
Louis.
Not much, but I know where he's at. His kid's playing club, so I get.
Yeah, I saw him not too long ago. Maybe 6-8 months ago. We see each other occasionally down the road. I can give him a shout. I think it'd be great to have on. And what's cool about this is we're sitting here, Travis, and you said this earlier, oh, you guys know everyone. It's not like we're trying to oh, you know everyone. It's just we know everyone. They're like our friends. We know these people.
Lifelong friends.
Yeah, and so it's been so fun to be able to do that. We got some great guests coming up over the next few weeks, but what's the how long do you see yourself coaching at OCC? I know it's probably a tough question, but I'm curious, and do you have someone that is young that's by your side that will become the next you?
Deli's young and by my side, so.
Oh, Deli. Nope. Oh, Deli.
Deli's coaching with me here right now. He's been here the last 10 years with me. But,
awesome.
You know what's funny? Last night we lost to Golden West in 5, so I was thinking a lot about much longer I wanted to coach after that. I'll tell you.
I feel you.
This morning, but no, you know what's weird is you start thinking about that, and we're all the same age here. It's it's so weird. Last year was the first year I thought about retirement. It's just something that I don't know. This is for better or worse, this is my identity and this is who I am and what I do. So I haven't thought about it, but thinking about who replaces me a lot, I do think about it. There's only been 3 coaches at Orange Coast, and I don't know. Nick Amato is coaching at Golden West and played for me here, so he's someone I think about a lot. And it's going to be really important who gets this program
Yeah.
because it's super, meaningful in a lot of people's lives. But yeah, I haven't thought about it. And then retirement wise, I hope I have, a good 5 to 10 years left in me. So
Oh, you do.
yeah, I just want to. It's funny, and I try to talk myself into this. Just we play a really tough Mesa team tomorrow, so I just want to make sure I make it through that match, and then, we'll see what happens after that. But I love it so much, I couldn't imagine. But I also don't want to be that boxer that stays in the ring too long. And
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whereas that's respectable. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
I can hear it in your voice, the passion you have, and
Yeah, you
that's
still have it in
that's
you.
what's needed. That's what's needed in anything you do, but especially in coaching young men and boys. I mean, you're coaching the club level and the collegiate level, so that's what needs to happen. So that's great. I mean, you do such a great job there, and I need to get to a match soon. When do you guys play? You two?
I think April 4th. We moved the match, right? It was April 5th, maybe to the 4th. It's on a Thursday, actually.
Oh, that's the 3rd, April 3rd.
April 3rd, I'm sorry.
Is that your only time you play, or do you play
They
another
just
time?
played.
We just played against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't make it. It's my son's banquet, my kids' banquet. I just got that today on April 3rd. I would have been there.
you should think about, we're hosting the state championships. It's kind of cool to see that too. There's some really good kids playing JC volleyball, and it's only going to get better based on what we've been talking
What's the
about.
dates?
I think it's the 20. It's that third weekend of April, the
Yeah.
24th to the 26th, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good for everybody to know.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I'll come for sure for that. And maybe Bear and I set up shop and do the two of us do part of the pod from there, and
It
maybe get
depends
some.
if my team's playing in that or not.
Yeah, well, no, that's why you're going to be there with me running
Don't
the
laugh
pod.
so hard, Travis.
yeah, that's why I said you're going to be with me doing the pod, not on the
not
coach.
there.
Yeah, you're going to
sitting
be.
next
You and I
to-
are going to be
yes.
the media. Maybe we can set up shop. Maybe do some interviews for the kids and JC and talk to you guys as coaches. I think that would be cool. I mean, obviously for us, but regardless, I'll be there. I'd like to come to some matches. Doing this now has got me way more passionate about doing things, and I want to get out and see more volleyball. I've been so impressed with these two boys of mine playing hoops that I haven't had a chance to get out much, but now that I have more freedom, I want to do it, and I'd love to come see you guys play. Who's the best in the state right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, Travis, to wrap this up, tell us, because you mentioned a couple guys on your team right now that could be your starting 6 of all time. Wrap up where you guys are at right now. How do you see it playing out this year? Give us a little wrap up of what OCC is doing this season, and of course you're expecting to win the state championship. But yeah, use this time to kind of tell us about your season right now.
And don't forget the dark horse, Santiago Canyon.
That's
a
right.
very dark
Careful.
So, there's some really good teams this year, and Golden West is one of them. That we had a tough 5-set loss to them last night, but those guys were a little hungrier than us and got after it. And then Mesa, we beat Mesa in the finals last year, and they have everyone back except one guy, and they have a 6'11" outside going to UCI.
Wow,
It's really good, and so they're we play them tomorrow night. They're going to be a handful, and then Moore Park. You know what, JC's, like I said before, the more third-year guys you have, the better off you are usually, and Mesa seems to have the most right now. And then throwbacks too. Long Beach State has a kid that was at Hawaii, and then a really good outside hitter named Aiden Powell who was at Long Beach. So I think those are the three teams. I like my guys. I think we got the physicality and the experience to be there in the end. But you guys have played, you know how it is. We just got to be good that last week, and that's what we're working on right now. So
That's
last
why we
time,
play.
yeah,
Did you play Golden West at home or away last night?
they went home. They won
At
the
home,
first two,
okay.
and then we got the next two, and then they just dug everything in the 5th set.
yeah.
They played really well. We haven't had too many losses the last few years, and it really obviously puts a target on your back. And we have a giant target on our back this year, and it's fun, right? Like bring it on, but it's also
You don't want it any other way.
exactly. So every night,
I don't want to reopen a scab for you and talk about your losses too much, but can you just tell us a little bit about that Moore Park match too? Because that 5th game, I've never heard a score that high in a 5th game. Was it 34-32, 36-34, something like that?
it was 34-32, and I'll tell you exactly about that game. We blocked one ball in the 5th set. 64 points, so 66 points. So yeah, that was kind of the issue. And they have an older outside hitter that kid can just flat out play. He's like a smaller guy that just it looks like he's been playing for forever. It was a great match. I'm too old to deal with that, but by the end, it was just like, can someone just win it? I don't even care if it's us.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like that. And
How was your assistant coach during that Delhi during that match? Was he losing his mind, or?
The only thing I'll tell you is we left, we go to the bus, and I had to run back in to grab something. And I hear someone just yelling one word over and over again in the parking lot. And I'm serious. I didn't know who it was. And they're yelling one word. You can guess what it was.
Sure.
Like maybe 20 times. And so I stood there and listened. I'm like, is it some guy that needs some help maybe? Or I go around the corner and there he is.
He does need help.
Yelling. And I'm like, oh my God, Delhi will be okay. So
that's the competitiveness that it's hard. We told a story the other day about Hildebrand. He's cut from that same cloth. That's why he went to Long Beach. But like, they're not all cut like that anymore. And I see it every day. I don't care how good people are. There's a difference in that kind of mentality. And Delhi has it. Delhi's had it. Delhi still has it. Yeah. Maybe to a fault sometimes. But losing is unacceptable. Period. It's unacceptable. And even if you got beat by a team that's better, it's still unacceptable. You hate it that much, right? You hate it that much. And Delhi's always been like that. So it's great to see that he hasn't changed.
No, he's not changed at all. Not one thing has changed about him.
Oh, I love it. I love playing. I love playing with him, for him. I mean, these guys played for him forever. He's one of the best to ever do it. And I love that he still has that competitive spirit. I really do.
It's great for these kids to be around him too, and to see that it's okay to care. Like,
yes,
care that much. It's a big
play
deal.
With a little chip on your shoulder. It's fine.
Exactly. No, he's been huge and crucial in our success the last 10 years here for
Everywhere
sure.
He's gone. Everywhere he's gone.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to watch this now. We're going to have to deal with the backlash.
I can't wait. Can't wait. I can't wait to cheer for you guys in Delhi for that state tournament. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Travis Turner, impressive.
Thanks for coming.
Impressive interview, impressive resume, impressive career. Congratulations. Again, thanks for coming on Set the Pipe, buddy. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah, thank you, Travis. I love you, brother. I really do, man.
This is cool. You guys are doing this. I think it's a unique perspective on volleyball, and with your relationships, it's only going to get better. So thanks so much for including me. It's crazy I was included on this, but I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thanks we're really happy you came.
Fine.
Absolutely. We're telling everything. Stories from youth to collegiate to pro and everything in between. And we're just trying to grow the sport of volleyball. Hit subscribe, Set the Pipe. We love you.